Have you ever really thought about how the voice from a radio studio, maybe somewhere downtown, actually gets to that big transmitter on a faraway mountaintop? It's not magic, believe it or not. It's all thanks to this supercritical piece of tech called the Studio to Transmitter Link, or STL for short. And that's what we're going to explore. This invisible but absolutely essential connection that makes broadcasting, well, possible. So, welcome back. This is part 9 of our big 40-part series on modern broadcast transmission. Today, we're really zooming in on one single super vital link in that whole chain, the tech that bridges that gap from the studio all the way out to the world. So the whole problem really just boils down to geography. I mean, think about it. All the creative energy, the hosts, the producers, that's all happening in the studio. But the best place to actually broadcast a signal from, that's way up high, somewhere with a clear shot. And that right there creates this physical distance, right? A gap that has to be crossed perfectly every single second of every single day. Okay, so here's our plan for this explainer. First, we're going to tackle the why, this whole studio transmitter gap thing. Then we'll take a little trip from the classic microwave solutions to the more modern fiber and internet links. And to wrap it all up, we're going to dig into the two biggest headaches for any STL, reliability and delay. All right, let's jump right in with that basic engineering problem. Why is there even a gap in the first place? Well, it's what we call the studio transmitter gap.
It really just comes down to two things that just don't mix. See, on one hand, you want your studio to be in a convenient, creative spot, right? Probably downtown, where it's easy for hosts and guests to get to. But on the other hand, for the best possible signal, your transmitter needs to be way up high. We're talking remote hills, mountains, miles and miles away. And that natural separation, well, that's exactly why you need a dedicated, super high-quality link to connect.
So you might be asking, how did engineers deal with this for decades? Well, the go-to solution, the classic, was the RF microwave link. Let's take a look at this original workhorse of broadcast. The whole idea is actually super simple, but really, really effective. Just picture this. You've got two big dish antennas, one at the studio, one at the transmitter, and they are aimed perfectly at each other. What you're doing is creating a private point-to-point data highway just zipping right through the air.
I mean, this technology really defined an entire era of broadcast engineering. The number one rule, you absolutely have to have a clear line-of-sight path between those two dishes. No mountains in the way. If you can get that, you get just rock-solid, proven reliability. And because it's a totally private network, it's completely immune to internet outages. So what are the downsides? Well, you do need an FCC license, and getting it all set up can be pretty complex.
But of course, technology never, ever stands still, right? So let's fast forward to the modern era and see how things like fiber optics and internet-based links are tackling that very same problem. So this really lays out the choices engineers have today. You've still got the classic RF microwave, that's kind of the gold standard for pure, bulletproof reliability. Then you've got fiber optic, which gives you insane bandwidth and practically zero delay, but it costs a lot and you can't get it everywhere. And finally, there are the IP-based links, the ones that use the internet. They're super flexible, way more cost-effective, but, and this is a big but, they bring out a whole new set of challenges around reliability and delay that you really have to stay on top of. When you get right down to it, these IP-based systems are using the exact same kind of technology that connect your computer at home or in the office. The audio gets chopped up into little digital packets and sent over the network. Now, that's what makes them so flexible. But it also means you're throwing all the wild, unpredictable nature of the public internet right into the middle of your professional broadcast chain. And that right there is the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, using the internet for this sounds so easy, so cheap, but what happens when that connection hiccups or drops, even just for a second? Well, the answer to that leads us straight to the biggest challenge of all.
And that is the reliability challenge. Because in the world of broadcasting, dead air is the absolute worst-case scenario. It's the ultimate failure. So the goal, the only goal, is to keep that signal on the air, no matter what.
This brings us to a really important number, 99.99%. That is the target. People in the industry call it 4 nines availability. So what does that actually mean? It means your system can be down for less than 1 hour, over an entire year. That's the incredibly high professional standard these links have to meet. So how in the world do engineers actually hit a number like that? Well, they build a safety net.
The system is always watching the main connection. And the very instant it detects a problem, even just a tiny dip in quality, it automatically and instantly switches over to a backup path. The whole point is to make that switch so fast that nobody listening ever knows it happened. The on-air signal just keeps on going.
The way they do this is by building in redundancy. The golden rule is you never, ever rely on just one path. So a station might have their main microwave link and then use a regular internet connection as a backup. Or if they've gone all in on using the internet, they'll sign up with 2 totally different internet providers. That way, if one of them has an outage, it doesn't knock the station off the air.
Okay, so we've got a plan for reliability. That's sorted. But these modern IP links, they bring another sneaky but super critical challenge to the table: delay. Or, as engineers call it, latency. So why should we even care about a tiny little delay? Well, put yourself in the shoes of a radio host for a second. Imagine you're talking into the microphone, but you hear your own voice coming back into your headphones just a split second later. That weird echo is so disorienting, it makes it almost impossible to talk like a normal human being. That's the very real human side of this technical problem. The good news is, engineers have pretty much solved this problem. Modern audio systems, as long as they're on a good high-quality network, can get that total delay down to just 2 to 5 milliseconds. And a delay that small is something the human ear just can't pick up on. It's totally imperceptible. And this comparison really shows you how far things have come. Those old-school microwave links, they were basically instantaneous. We're talking delays measured in microseconds. These new IP links are measured in milliseconds. So yeah, technically it's a longer delay, but the technology manages it so well that at the end of the day, it's still completely undetectable. So when you boil it all down, what is the studio-to-transmitter link? I think the best way to describe it is as the digital umbilical cord of a broadcast station. It's not just some simple wire. It's a really sophisticated, super redundant system that's designed for one purpose and one purpose only: to create that seamless, perfect listening experience that, let's be honest, we all totally take for granted. So I want to leave you with this. The next time you're in the car or just have the radio on and you're listening to your favorite station, try to hear that invisible link. Of course, you won't hear it, and that's the whole point, right? Its perfection is the fact that it's invisible. But now you'll know about the incredible engineering that's making it all happen.